Rain on the windshield, sirens too close, and a flashlight that felt like it was pressed straight into my skull. That's the picture I can't shake. Hands where I can see 'em, the first voice said, tight and practiced. My dad, Leonard Price, the gentlest man I've ever known, lifted his hands like he was carrying glass. He kept saying the same sentence, soft as if it could save him. "I'm just trying to get home, sir." The light stuttered. The dash cam blinked like an eye that didn't want to watch, and everything went fast. A knee on his neck, boots on his ribs, somebody shouting, "Stop," resisting when he was barely breathing. Then the sound, one hard crack that split the night, and the rain didn't sound like rain anymore. It sounded like a sink filling up somewhere. You can't reach the faucet to turn it off. If you asked me when the vow happened, when I decided nothing about my life would be the same, it wasn't at the morgue, and it wasn't at the press conference. It was in our kitchen in Riverbend, Ohio, the night after, with the coil burner stove still warm from where Dad used to scorch the rice. There's a mason jar on the counter with a strip of blue painter's tape on it, Dream Fund coins and crumpled bills inside a stupid little plan for a Goodyear blue pickup he'd circled in a flyer. He worked night shifts at the rail yard and still set our table every evening like we were royalty, two chipped plates, forks that never matched. That's what they took. Not just breath, ritual, a man's right to be ordinary. They told the story their way. Captain Tom Riker, the veteran officer with a church photo in every newspaper. Detective Eli Sadowski, the quiet one whose file reads like a blank page. Nate Mercer, the rookie who looked at his boots more than your face. And above them, District Attorney Calvin Pryor, gelled hair, and a voice like a podium. A tragedy, he said, but protocol was followed. Body cams malfunctions, the autopsy lost its adjectives, and the news dug up a mugshot from my dad's 20s. Like that picture could time travel and put a gun in his hand. The people who heard his last words were neighbors with shaky phone videos and slashed tires the next morning. "Mind your business," typed note under a windshield wiper. I kept it because it said everything. I tried the front door first. I sat outside Pryor's office in the county building until the receptionist started calling me sir like it was a threat. I filed forms. I begged a reporter who nodded a lot and printed nothing. When I said my father, I watched them relabel him in real-time: suspect, traffic stop, escalated, appropriate force. The case closed with a plastic snap. I went home and stared at the mirror over our sink until my own face looked like a stranger in a borrowed life. I hit the glass once, not hard enough to bleed, just enough to crack it into puzzle pieces. After that, I stopped trying to sleep. You should know something about me, I don't say out loud. Riverbend's Harbor Street crew, the men folks pretend not to see. I grew up next to them. I carried bags for them one summer when I thought money would fix the soft panic that sat in my dad's chest every time a cruiser rolled by. I never joined, but the shadows knew my name. When the law refused to hear me, those shadows did. They don't do condolences. They do tools. Burner phones, 2 routes for every trip, a habit of counting my breath. Inhale 2, hold 2, exhale 2, until my heart matched the numbers. I learned Captain Riker's Thursdays, County Line Tavern, third stool too loud to hear himself think. I learned Sadowski's pre-shift diner order, soft scramble, rye coffee, black eyes on the door. I learned Mercer's late-night loops out by the water plant, music up, hands shaking on the wheel like he was trying to rattle his conscience loose. And I learned where Pryor kept his suit jackets, which fundraiser he'd pick over his kid's piano recital, what alley his driver used when the cameras on Main were looking the other way. The first night I moved, it didn't feel like rage. It felt like math. Riker laughed at something on his phone, threw back his shot like he'd earned it, and stepped out to the alley where the fluorescent light shivered on, off on us off like the dash cam that had blinked at my father. "Hey, Cap," I said, and he turned just enough for the neon to wash the pink out of his face. His hand dipped for the boot knife, habit, not heroism. I saw the church photo. The papers loved the barbecue grill, the Little League hats. I also saw my dad's fingers tapping the steering wheel to invisible music, a trick he used to slow his breath. When the shot went, it surprised me how small it sounded. It was the thud after that made me swallow until my throat hurt. I washed my hands at home under the kitchen light, out of respect, not because there was blood. Old habit too, I could hear my father saying, "Soap, Nico." Soap. The city did what cities do. They held a press conference with a picture of Riker in his dress blues and said cowardly attack. They parked cruisers at the corner of my block like souvenirs. They called my father aggressive again for practice. People brought candles to a brick wall off Harbor Street where someone painted my dad's face in blues and gray, a halo of streetlight behind him. Everybody whispered. The cops showed up in black armor and heavy boots and made quiet loud again. Rubber bullets don't sound like the movies, they sound like your whole life skipping a groove. I followed Sadowski one night to his driveway, no plan, just momentum. He stepped out of his sedan, loosened his tie like he wanted to strangle the day, and lit a cigarette. His face looked older than his record said. I didn't pull the trigger, he told the quiet street like he needed the air to testify for him. I raised my gun, then lowered it as if my arm belonged to somebody more patient. He went inside. I stood there and felt shaky and small, and then angry at myself for still having room for mercy. You want me to say the turn happened at the protest when a kid went down and I dragged him by the hoodie into a doorway while gas bit my eyes? Yeah, it could have. Or when I finally caught the rookie Mercer sitting alone in his cruiser, crying like his throat had been cut with a dull spoon. I left him there, put a hand on the hood so it would thunk, and walked. But the turn happened in an empty warehouse by the river on a night where the only witness was a bad light that couldn't make up its mind. I brought Sadowski there, and I brought Pryor. Ropes taped the kind of ugly you don't brag about. I wanted them to know what silence felt like when it wasn't backed by a badge or a podium. Sadowski kept his chin up. Ambition always does. Pryor tried the voice at first. You don't want to do this? He said. Like I was a voter he could manage. This doesn't bring your father back. Nothing does, I said, and my words sounded like they were rolling over gravel. Sadowski looked at me and gave me his last piece of honesty. I didn't shoot. I stepped closer until I could see a nick on his earlobe that looked like he'd cut himself shaving in a hurry. You held him down, I said. He didn't deny it. I wanted him to be a monster, so it would be easier. He was just a man who had gotten good at not listening to himself. The gun kicked, and the room swallowed the echo, and that part is going to live in my chest like a bird that won't stop hitting the window. So if you're here for Celebration Wrong Channel, Pryor broke, then no podium, no tie, just sweat. Please, he said, and it wasn't for me. It was for whatever future he still thought he could bargain with. I knelt so he couldn't look past me. You didn't pull the trigger, I told him, but you set the table. I put a flash drive on his lap, body cam fragments, phone videos, a recording I shouldn't have had from a squad room where they practiced the words, stop resisting like a hymn. You die in the dark, I said, or you burn in the light, your choice. I cut him loose and walked out because sometimes living is a worse sentence. You don't get the parade after. You get a TV in a dim kitchen and a DA resigning on air with a voice that shakes for the first time. You get a rookie who transfers a department that locks ranks tighter, a city that hums like a wound. You get strangers putting their palms on your father's mural like they could warm the paint. You get sleep that doesn't do what sleep is supposed to do. And you get that jar, the one with Dream Fund on it, shining dumber and holier than it has any right to, and you pick it up just to hear the coins hit the glass as if money could buy you back your before. Do I feel better? No. Do I feel finished? Also no. I stood at the vigil one night in a hood and listened to a little girl ask her mother why the candles melt even when you try to protect them. Because that's how fire is, the mom said, and it hit me like scripture. Rage burns what you aim at, and you too. I walk Riverbend different now. Every flashing light makes me slow down, not because I'm scared of dying, but because I remember how carefully he tried to live and how little it saved him. Some folks call me a hero in whispers. Don't. Some folks call me a criminal out loud. Save your breath. I am a son of a working man who knew the price of a quiet dinner, of a small city that keeps its deals in the dark and its grief on the walls of a machine that accepts sacrifice like a donation plate. I tipped it over once. It will get back up. Machines always do. So tell me, since you're here, was I wrong or just what the moment required? Did I choose justice or did I rename revenge and light a match I can't put out? Drop your city in the comments. Tell me where you've seen a story turned inside out by a headline. Tell me who got labeled suspect when they were just trying to make it home. If you've carried a candle in the wind for somebody, they tried to erase, say, their name down there. Like and share if you believe in truth that doesn't flicker when the light does. And if you think I crossed a line, say that too. Let's see if we can hold the argument without dropping the flame.